Okay, I think that as we do these sorts of activities, often people come up with examples that I hadn't really anticipated. Some of those, I think, yeah, obviously that's an example, and that others are really surprising. I'd like to look at both. So, who wants to suggest something that they're seeing in the book and how exactly that works? Janelle, we were working with you a lot last time, so let's see. Nate, what do you got?
I think it's how we're with all of the eyes focused on
Sorry, give us a page reference there, Nate.
uh, 84.
84 in the large book. So 84 in the large book, if you are looking in the small book, it's that section break that has Roman numeral 3. So that's the page. If you can find that section break with the big Roman numeral 3, it's 83. Excellent. Wow, we're almost on the same page. Okay, Nate, go ahead and read what you got there.
With all those eyes focused on him, the ball popped loose from Don's hands without anyone touching him. He went after it on his hands and knees, desperately trying to recover it and redeem himself, but he couldn't get to it. A groan went up from the crowd as El Paso Austin came up with the ball.
Good. What are you deciding? Pathos or ethos? You deciding to go for emotion or Bissinger's identity? Okay, pathos. This is as far as I expect all of you to be able to get perfectly, to do what Nate just did. And now I want to emphasize that again. This is what I expect you to be able to do right now. The next couple of steps, I'm trying to teach you. So I'm not necessarily expecting you can do the next couple of steps without help. That's what the unit's all about. But this first step, Nate says, this paragraph seems to do something emotionally. I think Bissinger's trying to key some emotion, and I agree with him. So we're going to fine-tune that and see how exactly we can ultimately write about it. Yusuf.
On page 85, after Mike threw for his third touchdown, he said you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till Midland week. It kind of gets you excited because it shows you that he's not nervous.
Oh, that's true. But hold on one second, Yusuf. I want to fully plumb this example, and then we'll see if we can go to yours. Yours is either doing something different or could add to it. But let's work with Nate's. Nate, what emotion? This is the next step. If you find this example, then you look at which claim you've got, pathos. And in order to discuss pathos, and you should have this in your notes, you must identify which emotion is being developed within the reader. So Nate, which emotion do you feel the reader is developing? Excellent. For whom? Great. So we now feel sympathy for this kid who is admittedly the least responsible, biggest partier of the Permian Panthers. But for a moment there, Bissinger wants you to feel something for this boy. Excellent. So Nate has accomplished the first step that I'm asking you to. Identify the emotion. Got, what was that page again, Nate?
Oh, you know what?
84? Is
67.
Oh, 67 in the little book? Okay, 67 in the little book. So page 84. What's the device? Now that's the next question. What is Bissinger using? What writer trick is he using, Nate?
Word choice, and he says desperately redeem himself.
Oh, okay, so we could be looking at his word choice. We could be looking at the diction. Words like desperately and redeem, these are powerful words. That's excellent. However, I think, Nate, what I would do with that paragraph is say it's an image. This is an image of this boy fumbling a ball. So Bissinger is showing you a snapshot in words of Don Billingsley fumbling the ball. And if we merge with what Nate's saying with diction, the way he tells that makes me feel sorry for him. Oh man, this kid's just trying his hardest, and he fumbles the ball, and the opposing team comes up with the ball. That's an awful moment. Can you tell me about any other images of these boys that you've read about throughout the book so far that have made you feel sympathetic for them? Do you remember seeing these kids do anything? Taha.
Well, like in the day 56, and the small book, it said that his daddy worships him, so.
Oh, so we got some imagery. Janelle, is that your example?
What?
It's okay. Taha, say it again. Janelle, see if this was your example.
His daddy worships him, said Julia Winslow. He sure loved that little boy, and might return that love.
Oh, okay. No, that's not imagery. Imagery is where I can see that picture. Janelle's got the imagery of it. Janelle, go ahead. What page? Sure. What page? 73 in the big book. And hold on. I want everybody to follow along. 73 in the big book is the first page of Dreaming of Heroes. And Andrew, I have seen your hand. We'll get to you in just a moment. So we got Dreaming of Heroes. Go ahead and read.
When his father gazed at him from the hospital bed with those sad eyes that had grown so narrow from drinking and the smoking and the endless heartache, Mike Winchell had been 13 years old. He knew something was wrong because of the way his father acted with him, peaceful in the knowledge he didn't have to put up a fight anymore. Mike tried to joke with him, as he always had, but Billy Winchell didn't have time for playful banter. He was serious now and wanted Mike to live.
Excellent. Sorry, I have a short memory. What page was that again? 73. Andrew, what was your previous example?
Well, I don't know if page is that okay?
That's okay.
Well, in the beginning of the book when Ruby was benched and then he went in the locker room and was like throwing all his pads off.
Good. That's exactly what I was thinking of, Andrew. Good job. Several places in the book, Bissinger shows you a snapshot of these kids. At which point? At the point of humiliation, at the point where they are frustrated, at the point where they are losing something. And why is he doing that, Nate? Because he wants you to like these kids. Somebody hostile to football could have written a book about high school football players and said, oh, they're a bunch of jerks, they're arrogant, they're superficial, they only care about partying and playing football, they're harmful to their fellow students, blah, 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 blah. And trust me, you'll read in Friday Night Lights certain pieces of evidence that lead to that characterization. But Bissinger wants you to feel sympathy for these kids. So he shows you these snapshots. He shows you Booby Miles, destroyed in a locker room, crying. He shows you Mike Winchell in a hospital room, losing his father. And he shows you Don Billingsley fumbling the ball at a crucial moment in the game. But he shows you these through imagery. Kale, what you got?
Can you build on Janelle's on page 75 to 76 where he talks about how Mike's likely to be better and just like got boards?
Give me a quotation. Let's see if it's...
His life couldn't get any easier. He had a brother who was sent to prison for stealing at home. He lived with his mother who worked at a service station convenience store as a clerk. They didn't have much money. His mother was almost a quiet, reserved, almost like a phantom.
That enormously quiet, reserved, almost like a phantom starts getting to it, but we need to have words that give me the concrete sense impressions. Like give me the way something looks, the way something felt, the way something sounds. And you're getting close to it there, Kale, but some of these other examples are direct imagery. Nate?
Well, doesn't he like show sympathy toward almost like everybody, like when he talks about how Odessa looks? I think he said it in this one, how it's just like nothing but flat, that gust or something like that.
Right. So are you saying that by depicting Odessa as such a hostile place, in a sense, these create sympathy for everybody living there? Yeah, you could say that as well. In other words, he likes the town. And he likes the people in it on some level. How do you know that? Because you know what's going on here. You can see it. You can read it carefully. Reem, what's our domain? What's our focus with the title? Are we going to, for this particular idea, we're looking at the whole book, development throughout the book, or just one chapter? Okay, we're doing Dreaming of Heroes. However, what has Andrew given us? Yeah, Andrew's given us something from the prologue, so we need to go bigger to Friday Night Lights because it's expanding over multiple chapters. That decision I just made, will my analysis focus on a single chapter, or will my analysis focus on the entire book? Depends upon my supporting detail. Alex, did you have a question? Oh, I thought I saw your hand. Okay. Let's focus on, I know that Nate makes the comment about everybody in Odessa, but let's make this manageable. Sympathy for the Panthers. specifically for these boys that compose the senior squad. Let's see what we can do here. Oops. That's not what I want to do. Okay. Chris, how do I start this claim? I'm going to write the sentence. How do I start it?
Don Bissinger, or wait, in Friday Night Lights.
There you go. And it's H.G. Bissinger, but we can just use Bissinger. Finish the rest of it.
Bissinger allows the reader to develop sympathy for cancers.
Missing one piece of information up there. What keyword's not yet in the sentence? Yep. Where are you going to put it? Andrew, help me out.
Maybe in Friday Night Lights, Bissinger uses imagery to help the reader develop sympathy for the Panthers.
If I were going with Chris's, I could also write it this way. In Friday Night Lights, Bissinger helps the reader develop sympathy for the Panthers through his imagery, and that would work too. But somehow you need all four pieces of this analysis. So what have I done? I've done exactly what every one of you should be able to do. Just like Nate did. He's reading something, something strikes him. Wow, there's a paragraph of imagery here. Why is he including that in there? Why does he show a picture of Billingsley fumble the ball? Well, it seems to make me feel sorry for him. Has he done this elsewhere? Yeah, I seem to remember him doing this elsewhere. Pictures that make me feel sorry for somebody. And guess what? You've just achieved a level of analysis. You're no longer a fifth grade student writing a book report. Now you're a, high school student or college freshman actually analyzing a book. Looking at it for author intention, purpose. That's adult critical reading. And each and every one of you can do that pretty easily if you just follow the same procedure. So, let's see how we can do it again. Lindsay, I find yours fascinating. And I hadn't really thought about that particular passage. So, let's look at that for a moment. Because it's also a pathos relationship. So Lindsay gave us a page reference. Do some reading for us. Make sure everybody's with you. 80. Okay. We've got 80. And in the smaller book, 80 is part of Roman numeral section 2, probably on the second page of that section, if you want to follow along there. 63, 62. Good. All right. Go ahead. Read for us.
He just put up his fist right there. If that didn't work, then what the heck? He just reared back and kicked me smack in the face.
Good. That he just put up his fist right there, and if that didn't work, then what the hell? He'd just rear back and kick you smack in the face. Who are we talking about? No, who are we talking about?
Charlie is dad.
Charlie Billingsley, Don Billingsley's father. All right, so Lindsay, you and I have had this discussion, so let's extend it to the rest of the group here. How do we feel about Charlie Billingsley? What's that? We don't think he's a good father. Is he the kind of guy we'd like to hang out with on the weekends? Yeah? Chris is thinking, yeah, that sounds like a fun time. No, it's not. People like that are obnoxious. Might be funny in isolated incidents, but for the most part, no. Does anybody know what the opposite of sympathy is? Close, actually. If you feel aggressive towards somebody, yeah.
Empathy?
Close. Wrong prefix. Nope. Empathy is where you feel so close to somebody you feel like you are them. So we've got, here we go, language lesson. Sympathy means that you feel sorry for somebody. You don't necessarily feel what they're feeling, but you feel sorry for them. Empathy, you feel so closely for somebody that you feel like you are them. Apathy, this means you just don't care. You have no feeling one way or the other. There's our senior class. Hey, trust me, I was the poster boy for senior apathy when I was in high school. Antipathy. That means you don't like somebody.
Yeah, I don't know if this has to do with those words. What does ambivalent mean?
Ambivalent? Ambivalent means you could go one way or the other. You're not quite sure. Apathy means you have absolutely no concern, no care. Ambivalent means you have both feelings at the same time. You're undecided. Okay?
So which one does this fall under?
Well, we've decided that we feel sympathy for the Permian Panthers because we may not be high school football players, but we can understand what somebody like that's going through. You might actually feel strong enough to feel empathy for those players, depending upon your personal experience. You probably don't feel apathy. You probably feel one way or another. Somebody like Charlie Billingsley would stimulate antipathy because you would not like this person. You want a more comfortable word? You don't like that word? Fine. Use something like dislike. Bissinger stimulates dislike, or even further, disgust. Hatred's tough. Hatred's really harsh. Frustration. Sometimes I'm frustrated with people like this. But remember what we're doing. Same thing I just did with Nate's. Lindsay pulls something up, and I'm thinking, what emotion's being felt, and what's its direction? Seems to be some sort of negative emotion toward Charlie Billingsley. All right, good enough. Now, what's he doing as a writer? And this is the part that fascinates me. His sense of right and wrong had been mounted on a hair trigger. If he thought you were jacking with him, he didn't go grumbling back to the huddle making empty threats about revenge. He just put up his fist right there, and if that didn't work, then what the hell? He'd just rear back and kick you smack in the face. Yeah. Not quite suspense, because you know what's going to happen. Suspense when you don't know what's going to happen. Does this passage make you feel threatened? Only if he was going to attack you later in the book. Why does it make you feel threatened? What pronoun is he included in there, Lindsay? What pronoun emphasizes the threat to you? Andrew? You. How often do writers write the book with you as a pronoun? What voice is this? Second person voice. Huh. Second person voice. He shifted in the second person voice. Why? Because Charlie Billingsley's not about to kick somebody else. Charlie Billingsley's not angry towards somebody else. Charlie Billingsley's angry toward you. Twice in this paragraph, you see the you. So you should feel threatened. And when you feel threatened by somebody who's threatening to kick you in the face, you generally don't like that person. Generally, unless you're strange. We haven't really expanded past this chapter. Dominic, what's the effect? No, that would be a device. For this particular one that we're talking about, what's the effect? We've already got the device. Pathos, so it's got to be some kind of emotion issue. Come on, it was my language lesson. Okay, fear. We could go with fear. fear, dislike, disgust, or you could use your new fancy word, antipathy. Who can write it? Reem?
In Dreaming of Heroes, Messenger uses a second-person voice to create fear towards Phoebe.
Billingsley. I'll change this just a little bit. Dreaming of Heroes, Bissinger shifts to the second-person voice to develop fear toward Charlie Billingsley. Fear in you toward him.
So you're scared for
You're afraid of him, not for him. Remember, because he's threatening you, threatening to kick you in the face. That's why you feel afraid toward him. That's it. I've told you before that in your analytical writing you should not use the first or second person voice. I did not tell you that because I think you shouldn't use it. I told you that because I don't think you're at this point in your writing yet, where you start to play these tricks. I think when you use the second person voice, you use it on accident. So I tell you just to stop using it. Later, as a more developed writer, you might decide to start using the first and second person voice on purpose to do little tricks like Bissinger's doing right here. If you do it for a purpose, it's an admirable and excellent writing technique. It's the accidents that I try to help you avoid. Questions? We don't have time for another example. It's a good enough stopping place. And tomorrow you will be working with groups to develop more examples and more claims within Friday Night Lights about the same issues. So come here with your book. If you cannot come with your book, you cannot do this work. Remember what I did with the vocab books earlier this week.